St. Kitts and Nevis tax system. Can the tax system of St. Kitts and Nevis really work, or is it a basket case? This is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Also, if you want to know more about how to get your taxes to zero or how to get a second passport in as quick as 3 months, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. I just got notification from a person that was sent in to us, and I wanted to address this matter. And a lot of people think that there's no way you can eliminate the income tax, the capital gains tax, inheritance tax, the property tax, and not have a country that's a basket case. The key thing is, can you exclude these type of taxes that I've just mentioned and bring in an import duty, a stamp duty, and have a real small property tax and maybe a VAT and have the same results and create just as much money and have more benefits? This is the thing that so many people don't realize, that I'm going to tell you about a country today that that doesn't have any income tax, it doesn't have any capital gains tax, doesn't have any estate or inheritance taxes, and almost no property tax. And it does give free dental care at age 60 or over to its nationals. And if you're 62 and over, you get free hospitalization, free doctors, and you also get free drugs. And which country do you think it would be? I'm going to ring out a couple of them here and see if you think this might be one of them. These countries here don't have an income tax. Could it be Bermuda, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands? What about the Turks and Caicos Islands? Well, I'm actually going to tell you it's none of these, because these countries don't have an income tax. The problem is all of these freebies and handouts are usually going to be given to citizens, and you can't get citizenship in those countries for many, many years. Probably the Caymans would be your quickest, and that's if you went under a very expensive a residency by investment program, but you're not going to get any of these in a few months. That's the big key. And there are some disadvantages of these countries too, is you might not have an income tax, capital gains tax, or estate inheritance tax, but your import duties are through the roof. Cayman Islands, I went there and visited, and also Bermuda, and I couldn't believe how expensive a box of cereal was. And these are the types of things you need to look at. Is you want it level across the board. If you go to a place that doesn't have any income tax and estate tax, capital gains tax, very little property tax, where do they get it from, and are they sticking it to you in other areas? Remember again that nationals had these type benefits, people that are citizens. Typically, you're not going to come into a country and get all these things free if you're a permanent resident or if you're just a resident. And one of the notifications that was sent in to me, this is what he stated. He said that zero taxes is not a laudable goal. We should all pay our fair share of taxes if we expect to benefit from living in a non-anarchic society. On principle, I disagree with the property tax, but I agree with both the income tax and sales tax. I think you can get rid of all these taxes. St. Kitts is the country that I'm talking about, and they've done this. They've gotten rid of all these taxes, and you can get all these free benefits right away. You don't have to wait 10, 15, 20 years to get the citizenship to actually start receiving these. And remember, those countries I mentioned have really, really high living costs when you go live there. This is something you don't hear that much about. I've been to these countries. I know that what the cost is in the British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, countries like Bahamas is the same way, Bermuda. The living cost in the Caymans is very, very expensive. To give you an example, how you can actually do this and how it can actually work and actually benefit better than an income tax, I'm going to give you an example of what happened to St. Kitts. In the year 2005, I had read where St. Kitts had one of the highest debts in the world at 157.30% debt percentage of GDP, and a debt per capita of around $17,478 per person. Now, At that time, I think the only country in the world that had the highest debt was Japan. I mean, this is how bad their debt problem was. And they actually sought help from the IMF. And I had read where the IMF had agreed to help St. Kitts and Nevis resolve this debt, but the Federation had to actually come to a decision if they wanted to come out with an income tax or with the VAT. And I don't know how much you know about St. Kitts, but both parties in St. Kitts are actually a lot more conservative than the most conservative party in the U.S. Neither party wanted to come out with an income tax. In fact, you don't even have that in the United States. There are very few politicians that think you can make it without an income tax in the United States. In that matter, even in Australia or Canada, they just don't think it's possible. Well, let me give you the results of this debt problem and how they actually overcame it, something the U.S. has never been able to do with their debt problem that goes up every year. But this was the results of the debt problem in St. Kitts and what happened. In 2005, the debt actually dropped from $856 million or 157.30% debt percent of GDP, with a debt per capita of $17,478 per person, to a debt of $593 million in 2018. And that's with a 60.50% debt percentage of GDP, with a debt per capita of $11,303 per person. Okay, I'm going to explain to you a little bit more detail how this worked. In short, the debt dropped from 157.30% to 60.50% debt percent of GDP. And remember, this was from 2005 to 2018. All right, that was actually a 62% drop in the debt from that period of 2005 to 2018. That's incredible. The U.S. hasn't even, their debt goes up every year with a tax rate as high as 50% with state, federal, and Social Security in states like California and New York. So isn't income tax really working to lower the debt? And is it really needed? I don't think so. It was not needed in the USA before 1913, which was the year the income tax came out in the U.S. And I think the key is if the income tax had never come out and they'd come out with taxes like St. Kitts had, you wouldn't have the problems in the U.S. today. This is the problem that you have. And I don't think it's going to be overturned unless they change their whole system around to a system like St. Kitts has. The debt is going up tremendously each year in the U.S. In summary, this is a good example to show why the income tax, the capital gains tax, the estate tax is not needed, and it hurts productivity by having these taxes. If you want to learn more on how to legally get your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport, do three things. Go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and what you need to do is hit the bar at the top where it says apply with us, and then questions will come up. Just fill those out, and at the bottom says send to us. We'll get that and we'll get back with you. And also, if you'll do another thing, is hit the subscription button to the right of your screen. We'll get new videos out to you automatically. And if you got a question or comment, just put that below and we'll get back with you on that. We deal with 74 citizenship by investment, residency by investment countries if you're not interested in St. Kitts. But like I said, St. Kitts has really got the most perfect system I've seen. It's English speaking. You get dual citizenship. You don't have the taxes I mentioned before. You don't have to go through a lot of hurdles to get the passport. You don't have to pass the language test. You don't have to go in the military. It's got all the things covered. Almost every passport program has gotchas. And one of them that's real bad is learning a second language. I tell people all the time, that's a real hassle, and it turns a lot of people off when they get involved and they find out that they've got to pass a Spanish test or French test or some other sort of language, and they don't learn it good enough to actually get the passport and citizenship. The key is you want to go in and get something that's simple and easy and not drawn out. And folks, pick something where the government rolls the red carpet out to you. Go in. Is there a place that you can get where you can get all these free benefits and not have any income tax, any capital gains tax, any estate tax, any inheritance tax, and have almost no property tax? Yeah, you can do it. There are countries out there like St. Kitts. There are other countries too. You can have benefits like this, but the problem is it's going to take you years and years and years to get the passport. And some of those countries I mentioned to you before, Cayman Islands, Bermuda. But remember too, also when you get the passport in those countries, the cost of living there is very, very high. It's a lot higher than St. Kitts. So I'm trying to show you, if you want to take all the negatives out totally, this is the way to do it. And if you got a question, just shoot it to us and we'll be glad to help you out. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.